welcome to today's show. I'm Dan Glicksman. I'm head of North American marketing at CDM Media, part-time podcast host, occasional event MC, and full-time chaos coordinator. Today's guest wears not one but two titles that keep us, most of us up at night. Amit Basu, Vice President CIO and CISO at International Seaways. That's right, he's the one building the tech and defending it from cyber criminals, AI runaways, and probably a few rogue USB drives, and he's doing this for a global maritime company. So staying on the maritime theme, today we're diving into some big stuff. Things like evolving CISO liability, the convergence of IT and OT and global shipping, and also what it takes to manage cybersecurity in an environment where stormy waters aren't just a metaphor. So we're also going to keep it fun at the end. So we have some rapid fire questions like, what superpower would help most at work, or what tech buzzword Amit wishes would disappear forever? The leadership mantra he finds himself repeating over and over again, and of course, we can't forget the favorite. If cybersecurity were a movie genre, what would it be? Would it be a thriller, horror, action, comedy, or more? So, grab your drink of choice, put your phone on not today hackers mode, and let's settle in. Let's set sail with Amit. Amit, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Dan. I'm very well. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here and talk to you today.
Excellent. And one ocean pun too many? We were okay on that start? All right. Well, we're going to jump right in with the questions. I have a few for you. Let's start high level. The CISO role has really evolved dramatically. It's gaining strategic influence, but also inheriting a growing share of liability. How are you looking at this evolution today?
That's a very interesting question, Dan. As you all know, the CISO role is not really that old. In just 30 years, the CISO role has evolved from a backroom technician focused on firewalls and resolving technical incidents to a strategic leader at the executive table. Cybersecurity today is no longer just an IT issue. It's essential to the enterprise risk, brand reputation, and shareholder trust. CISOs we now sit at the boardroom table, advise on strategic decision to help the cyber resilience. But with that visibility has come an increasing personal liability. We have seen CISOs held legally, even criminally accountable, despite acting in good faith and often without the authority to match their responsibilities. The CISO can very quickly shift from being an asset to a perceived liability, not because of the incompetence, but due to the gaps in authority protection and the role clarity. The corporate boards, it is the time for them to step up, really. They need to set up a clear expectations, ensuring structural support and providing legal and fiduciary safeguards for the CISOs. See, I am a founding member of the Professional Association of the CISOs, which is a community of seasoned security leaders. And we are working for almost last 1 year now to formalize the profession through peer accreditation, ethics oversight, mentoring the structural protection this critical role requires. And I very strongly believe that this is the way to go. The CISOs need to organize and protect ourselves from these growing liability concerns.
Yeah, you could say in a way you're kind of like all in this together.
Absolutely. Like see, if you look at other professionals like the accountants, if you look at, or the lawyers you look at, all those professions are very well organized. All accountant has to go through the CPA accreditation. Their roles are defined. All lawyers are governed by the Bar Association. So, but CISOs are at this point, even though they may be at times even more critical role, they are not. So we need to really work together and kind of put the guardrails in our profession and make sure our future is protected.
Yep, super important. And I'm going to move to a conversation that comes up regularly, and especially relevant with what you do. With being a CIO, CISO, you're walking a tightrope between driving innovation and locking things down. Wearing both hats, how do you balance innovation with protection in a highly regulated industry, just like, like shipping?
Okay, let me start by saying that I think that's a myth that innovation and security are at two extremes. Innovation means doing kind of unobstructed changes, or the security means locking everything down. I don't think either of that is true. It is in a larger organizations where obviously the duties or responsibilities are a lot bigger. For one person to manage both can be get difficult, but for a smaller, medium-sized organization like ours, I think wearing both the CIO and CISO hats gives me a unique advantage. See, in a highly regulated industry, as you mentioned, like shipping, it's never innovation versus protection. It's always secure innovation to enable the business to meet its goals and achieve competitive advantage. So we focus on embedding security early. So all digital initiatives like cloud adoption, artificial intelligence, or even today's age of robotic automation, they all are built on a resilient foundation. It also means constantly aligning with the business goals, modernizing systems to help the business without compromising compliance or operational safety. It's a balance of pace and judiciousness. And frankly, in maritime, for us, safety is just not a word. It's really a value in our DNA. Without safety, we cannot run a ship on the ocean.
I love that secured innovation mention. I'm gonna be using that.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, what's the biggest misconception executives have, that they still have about cybersecurity risk in 2025?
Since you mentioned still have, I have to mention that still there are some executives in certain organizations. I may be lucky in that matter, but there are executives who believes cybersecurity is just a technical IT issue, something an IT or a security team should take care of it. They fail to see that cyber risk today is one of the biggest business risks. A serious cyber incident today trigger cascading losses across all frauds. It can be a financial loss from fraud, theft, or recovery cost, operational loss from systems going down and supply chains disrupted, reputational loss as customer and partner trust erodes, regulatory issues to fines, sanctions, or merely lawsuits by supply chain partners. And then, last but not the least, strategic issues like long-term growth plans may get derailed due to a fraud. So cybersecurity can't be any longer set aside as an, okay, those are the IT issues, the IT guys will solve, or it's an afterthought. It has to be the part of every boardroom and executive decision because it's not just about preventing the attacks. It's about protecting the future of the business.
And you bring it up, impact, to all sorts of the business, all parts of the business. It's a big deal, obviously.
It's
Yep.
at the end of the day, the business who gets impacted. See, it can be caused by maybe a technical issue. A cyber attack can be caused by a technical way, but the impact is entirely on the business. The
Yep.
business who is losing its operations, is losing its customers, losing its reputation. So it's absolutely a business risk.
I kind of like to say getting all that is like walking up a skyscraper with an anvil, and when something goes wrong, it's like dropping it right off the side.
Yep.
So I think you make some great points. All right, when IT and OT start dating seriously, things get complicated. So how has the convergence of IT and OT changed your threat landscape?
So that question really brings back some good memories. Okay, when I first joined maritime IT around close to 30 years back, the ships don't even have computers on board. All the communication between ship and shore used to by slow manual telex communication between the ships and the shores. If you fast forward from that today we are looking at ships with broadband internet, mostly nowadays with Starlink connectivity, which is super fast, sometimes faster than yours or my internet connection. So now on the ships, we have the IT systems connected to the internet, directly maybe working on the cloud. Then we have the OT equipments, which are critical for running the ship and the safety of the ship, crew, and the cargo. They are connected, if not always, quite often to the internet so that their manufacturers can provide remote support, can provide maintenance. Then third thing, not to be forgotten, nowadays, all the crew members on board, we have maybe around 20 crew on a ship. They are sailing for months without seeing their family or the near dear ones. They are using their personal devices to stay in touch with their loved ones, to browse the internet, to get the news. And all these three, those IT systems over the cloud, OT systems, manufacturers coming in, and the crew is connecting to the internet, they all are sharing that same internet pipe because that pipe is now large enough to support all of that. This convergence has really radically changed the threat landscape. The attack surface has expanded tremendously. The traditional boundaries have blurred really. Earlier, the ship used to be an own kind of an isolated instance sailing on the ocean. That has completely got now blurry. And also remember this, we from a corporate side have no really control over that devices, personal devices that crew carries. It is their personal device they're carrying, whether they are patched correctly, what operating system is running, we have no control. The OT systems, as you may know, quite often the OT systems runs on a fairly outdated operating systems. I was really shocked when I came to know sometime in 2018, all the ATM machines runs on Windows 95, which went obsolete 30 years back maybe. Similarly, the OT equipment also runs quite often on outdated operating systems. So the complexity today really is very, very serious. And we need to rely on modern cybersecurity capabilities, from putting on those behavioral analytics tools, like we do sometimes in the office for insider threat protection, the things which can track the network traffic against a baseline and detect any anomaly. Those are AI and ML backed tools. Having a zero trust principle, give access only what you need by creating a very, very thin segmentation. So an OT device cannot interact with a IT communication, and more importantly, when crew are accessing internet, that anything happens in that part, if that person managed to by mistake download some malicious malware, no way that should impact the business segment of the LAN. And then obviously the human factors, enforcing good cyber hygiene on board, password security, identity security, and never I would undermine conducting continuous awareness training to bolster what I call the human firewall. Because even the best tools can be undone by a single click. So keeping the crew continuously aware, teaching them the good cyber hygiene is most important thing I consider.
It's crazy when you think about it. We think about boats in a traditional sense, and pirates, and it's become a giant cybersecurity attack surface, like you're kind of describing. So,
yep.
Just thinking of it in a completely different way now. So you've got a limited budget and pretty much a three-way tug of war. What's the guiding principle when deciding where to invest limited resources? Speed and safety, scalability. What's your mix?
If I get a choice, okay, end of the day, I will again like to repeat, in corporate IT, we work to support the business. So the priorities will be dictated by the business. So, but if I have the choice, I would like to keep the speed aside for a moment and say scalability with embedded safety. I would rather build something that lasts and grows safely than patching something that was quickly delivered and breaks often. That would be my choice. But sometimes, for business's sake, we got to prioritize the speed also.
Right, and a lot of energy to keep patching.
Yes.
So, well, kind of along those lines, what keeps you up at night more? The risk of a data breach or the risk of technological obsolescence? Same, lines of questioning.
Again, if you let me, I would say neither of those two.
Okay.
Because first of all, as much I value my sleep at night, I really don't want to lose that. But if one thing that worries me, it's the complexity. The cybersecurity is a journey. It is not a destination. And the moment we believe that we have done enough, that's when we become the most vulnerable. It is that false sense of security that poses the greatest risk. So that's what worries me most, that me and my staff should not get complacent that, okay, we are good, we have done great things, and we can take some rest now. We don't need to do anything more.
Excellent. Well, we've made it almost 20 minutes without going deep into AI or even really mentioning it too much. So we're at the point we got to get into it, right? It's everywhere. It's standard. It's automated. It's sometimes hallucinating. I've even read some cool things in the shipping industry where it's helping manage ships in their race to the canal. Who's depending on what they're carrying, and making sure they're not all wasting fuel racing at the same time. Really cool stuff, right? With AI becoming more embedded in enterprise tools, what guardrails do you believe are now essential these days?
I think that's a very, very interesting question. And again, as you said rightly, AI is something I don't think anybody, be it a human personal basis or a enterprise basis, can ignore AI today anymore. I think you must have also read Sundar Pichai has made a comment recently, an extremely strong comment that AI may have a more influence on mankind than fire or electricity.
Wow.
That's a very strong statement.
Mm-hmm.
But as AI becomes more deeply integrated into enterprise tools, the guardrails need to go just beyond technical controls. Because one thing we all still struggling a little bit about the transparency of the AI tools. I think the transparency is the key, knowing what data the AI model was trained on and how it is really making the decisions. I cannot put a tool, I can use that in my personal level, I can use a tool, but I don't know really what the data it was used to train on or how it is actually giving me the answer. I don't know always how even Google gives me the answer, fine, but I trust that answer. Same way ChatGPT, Copilot, Perplexity, when these tools are giving me a personal question, hey, give me a tour itinerary for this place, or something that I am not that maybe concerned. But when I am putting that in an enterprise level and making a information that is coming out of from that model, trusting that to make an enterprise decision, I need to know what was the basis of that decision. What data is telling that? So that I think is a very critical. Second is for that same data going into the model, the access control and the data governance, ensuring the sensitive and regulated data doesn't get fed into the models inadvertently. We all operate in a certain compliance regulations or some sensitivity of the data, which cannot become public suddenly before they are available to the public. If I make AI engine just to suck everything that comes in your way, there can be a danger there that I may be able to, by mistake, put something out. Third is a continuous auditing and monitoring to detect any drift, bias, hallucination, kind of unintended behavior of the model. But someone, not the most important thing at the end, I would say still is the critical thing is the accountability. Who is accountable for this decision? A large language model cannot be, I can tell, okay, that model is making my decisions. Someone, not the algorithm or the model, must own the outcome.
Yep.
Okay. So business users need to understand the limit of the AI, just not get swayed by its capabilities. Yep. They need to understand the limit and take the ownership of that. Okay, I will get these ideas from the model, but end of the day, there's a human supervision.
Yeah, I think too, you kind of mentioned it, the whole trust idea. We've always had to trust our data to some extent, but with decisions and insights and directions being told to go and this quickly, the human element of deciding, or almost triaging which direction or what to choose, what path to choose, it becomes almost more important.
It's just like when I'm doing in a meeting where I'm discussing my options, possibilities, my teams are giving me ideas. We all kind of validate each other's pros, cons, and then try to come up with a right decision. The same thing here. I cannot blindly trust an LLM suggestion and say, okay, that's the God spoken. I just follow that.
Right. Yep. Nope. Fair. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. We were talking about the attack surface of the boat and the human element. This question, not everybody speaks cyber, but everybody's holding some risk in their inbox. How do you cultivate cyber awareness across non-technical teams, especially in a global operational environment, even just maybe beyond the ship, everywhere?
I think it is by creating a culture. I think that's the most important thing, creating a cyber-aware culture within the organization that needs to begin at the very top of the organization. When leadership sets the example at the top by being transparent about risks, owns the message, which essentially means if I tell everybody I need to have a 14-character password change every 3 months, my CEO also needs to follow the same thing.
Right.
If I need to tell, if anybody by mistake fails a phishing simulation, that person needs to go through a follow-up training. My chairman of the board also needs to follow that same thing. Okay, then only I think it will be treated as a shared responsibility across the organization. And that sets the tone across the organization. And then whenever you are creating those training exercises, simulation exercises, make sure you create a practical exercise, not something on ambiguous or a completely fictional thing, something that applies to your organization, and make it continuous. Keep it coming on a small incremental basis rather than once a year trying to make that guy to go through a humongous amount of training material. So this means training specific to the different roles using real world examples, running phishing simulations that feels relevant to the job, not generic, and then prioritize respectful communication. It's not like catching people, hey, you failed this test. If they respectfully communicate them, try to explain what went wrong, why he could not get it, how he can improve, and building the trust and helping everyone to understand that it's everybody's actions tie into the bigger security picture. One click by one person is enough. That we say the bad guys just need one chance to get in. That's how I think we can move from a compliance perspective to a real culture change.
Yeah, I like that. We are all cybersecurity, is kind of what you're saying. And I do like the always on, phishing training, because in a way, it's funny. I always bring it back to medical as being a practice. Cybersecurity is a practice as well, right? And
it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not a destination.
Yeah,
you need to keep practicing it every day.
Yep, absolutely. So leadership lessons, they don't always come with a warning label. I got to ask this question, in your great journey, what's one lesson you've learned the hard way?
It's an interesting point I will make, especially in the meetings with either with your subordinates or your seniors. Don't assume silence always means alignment. People remain silent, quiet, but they don't always buy in. So be careful of that.
I actually love that, because some people you walk out of a meeting and then they're thinking, you know what, I had time to marinate on this.
Yes, especially when you're team meetings, when you are expecting your team to do something, if they are not, and sometimes we do things which are controversial or something requires Herculean efforts. So if I don't get a real buy-in, it's difficult to succeed. So if just the minute the guys keep quiet, that doesn't mean they will go back and do what I tell them to do.
Super smart. I love it. All right, a final question for the first group of questions. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone becoming a first-time CISO or CIO tomorrow, what would it be?
Don't start making changes following your great ideas from the day one. Gain trust before driving any change. Unless you have built credibility with your stakeholders, none of your ideas will stick. So please, for the first part, listen to everybody carefully, understand the business, its goals, its current priorities. Show them that you are here to enable them, not to disrupt, as you used the word some time back, lockdown, and then lead the change. See, in our role, influence is earned, not granted.
Yep. It's funny. I think of what you just said. I wish my sports teams would follow the same mantra and not try and be the smartest person in the room on day one and listen a little bit and check things out and just ease on in a little bit and maybe with some more winning. So, okay, anyway, it's time for the speed round. Or in technical terms, I like to say the Control-Alt-Respond. There are no wrong answers, just fast ones. All right, you ready to meet?
Sure.
All right, here we go. If you could have a superpower, but only at work, what would it be?
The ability to read minds in the meetings. Because I said some time back, I need to understand what people are actually thinking when they are quietly listening to me. Maybe they're thinking about the lunch after the meeting.
You're looking up above their thought bubbles. You're like, lunch, go with the project, don't go with the project.
Exactly.
That would be phenomenal. Exactly. I'm all for that one as well. Is there a cause you're passionate about or that you'd like to spotlight today?
At this point, standardizing and professionalizing the CISO role.
Fantastic.
We need to define it.
We're all in this together, like I said earlier. All right. If cybersecurity were a movie genre, what kind of film are we starring in?
I think it is very straightforward. It's a thriller for sure. It's a twist in the plots, shadowy adversaries. You never really know who is the villain until maybe the final act. So it's an absolutely tight thriller.
I'm waiting for the next movie that the bad guys steal a quantum computer and decide to just
Exactly.
that's the next one I'm waiting for. Okay, after a long day of battling digital pirates, how do you drop anchor and unwind? What's your way, your go-to to unplug from cyber chaos?
A glass of good wine.
Yeah, there we go.
Feet up, listen to some nice music, pretending my phone does not exist. At least not until the glass is empty.
Do you have a favorite go-to music? Is there?
It depends really. It changes a little bit based on the current.
Okay, yeah, I'm the same way. Sometimes a little, lower. Sometimes even the metal side to calm down. Yeah. I know it sounds crazy. What's a leadership mantra or quote you find yourself repeating?
You will find me telling my team often that a term I use: success is yours and failure is mine. Because that's what I believe. The leadership accountability really means that.
I think you got to get your team coffee mugs with that.
Yes, absolutely. But I truly believe that, and I keep repeating that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here's one of my favorites. There are buzzwords, and then there are buzzwords we wish could just buzz off. Which term do you secretly wish would just be gone? And I guess it's not going to be secret now that we're speaking on this.
People may kind of raise their eyebrows if I say this, but I would say digital transformation. Because it has become a corporate equivalent of I'm on a journey, but I have no map, no ETA, sometimes not even any destination, but I'm on a journey.
And it's kind of always...
Everybody is doing some digital transformation. What they're doing, when they will finish, what they will achieve, nobody knows. You see anybody's resume, or any company will say, we are in digital transformation.
It's always on.
Yes.
Just assume we're always in digital transformation, especially these days. Right. Exactly. All right. Instant download. No training required. I say think like Neo in the Matrix, plugging in style. If you could wake up tomorrow with expert level mastery of any non-technical skill, what would it be?
Absolutely. No doubt. I want to be a good wine sniffer. The kind of people who kind of swirls, pause, snips, and confidently tells, dark cherry, chocolate, coffee, without flinching. I'd love to get that skill.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. All right. Well, that's it for the speed round. Amit, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a fantastic conversation. We took a step from navigating we looked at the blurred line CIO CISO, the evolving world of cyber liability, talked a little AI because we have to. You brought just great insight, clarity, and honestly, I love the thriller answer because I think you're 100% right on the world of CISO being a thriller in the movie. Where chaos, yes, but really appreciate your time and perspective. Any parting words for the audience?
No, I think we live in exciting times. We were getting a little bit of cornered by our adversaries, but with the advent of AI in our side, if you can use it right way, I think we can give them a good fight. So I am excited for it.
Love it. Love it. Amit, thank you so much. Until next time, Thank you, everybody, for listening. And everybody, stay secure out there.
Same
Thanks
here.
again,
Thank you.
Amit. All right, take care.